Enjoy basketball, soccer, and all your favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up using bonus code CHAMPION and your first wager is risk-free up to $1,000. Plus, when you register with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, player props, and daily boosted odds specials. Download the BetMGM app today or go to BetMGM.com and enter bonus code CHAMPION and place your first wager risk-free up to $1,000. Now you're winning with the king of sportsbooks. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Washington, D.C. and Virginia only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire 7 days from issuance. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Hey guys, Rob here. Just a quick one before we get into this episode. So we have a Patreon now. It's properly fleshed out. We talk about it a little bit in this episode, but it was before we had it properly finished. So we have 5 tiers, and if you guys want to go and check that out, I do suggest you do so. To all of our current patrons, we thank you so much. It makes a big difference to us, and it's really exciting to interact with you guys daily. So yeah, thanks again. And also then we have new merch. Oh my god, the merch is over on Teespring, and the address is teespring.com/stores/monster-fuzz, and it's a new logo that we designed especially for this merch, so please do go and take a look at that. I do recommend it. I've bought a load of shit on there, so yeah, do check it out. And without further ado, enjoy the Ropen.
My little cryptid, and this isn't scripted. I wanna equip you and use against my enemies, yeah. You see, you wanted to save you and then learn how to raise you, but I forget you from the wilderness.
Well, I just heard the news today. It seems my life is gonna change. I close my eyes, begin to pray. The tears of joy stream down my face. With wings wide open, it is the Ropen. With wings wide open. I can't fucking, that fucking bullshit song. So that's my first verse today.
Okay, that's good. Bit of a Creed inspiration there. And I think that when you think about those two singers, Eddie Vedder probably inspired the singer from Creed to sound like Eddie Vedder.
Mm-hmm.
So with that in mind, I'm trying to just fucking jump into one here. Ropen flying through the skies and he's trying to eat your face. Yeah. Whoa, Ropen. If you don't run real fast, he's gonna eat your face. Oh, Ropen though, he will eat your fine face. Ropen though, will he fly away?
You're definitely standing in the room there with your underpants swinging the mic around.
Oh man, I like the pants. I literally was frantically trying to take my pants off as I was just singing. I was just so into it.
What's up, everyone? We are Monster Fuzz Podcast. I am Rob, and with me is...
It's me, Eddie Vedder. No, it's not. It's Eamon. It was actually
Oh,
Eamon
all right, okay. I got
Sorry,
confused.
I thought you thought it was
actually.
a special guest. Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
say you were like, fucking, whoa, we're really getting places.
Yeah. And that was my favorite song ever by Creed. I realized yesterday that I was going to do With Wings Wide Open, and I drove around in my car around town for 20 minutes listening to what's their other song, laughing.
Oh, the 'Cause when you are with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I listened to that song, no joke, on repeat about 4 or 5 times, just laughing the whole like.
Mm.
Anytime I listen to Creed are like, if you're not familiar, they were a band that had like 2 albums around the time of new metal, and they were basically like Christian Pearl Jam.
Mm.
And I was reading the lyrics to the song with arms wide open today, and I close my eyes, begin to pray, then tears of joy stream down my face. And I was trying to keep a straight face even as I hit the record button, just looking at those lyrics. And it was very hard. Nothing against people who believe in anything that they believe in. I just think it's really funny to think of someone joining their hands to pray and beginning to sob uncontrollably.
I do think that the singer of Creed was involved in some sort of fucking sex, like, orgy, some sex man stuff. So
Oh.
where is your God now?
Oh.
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, sure.
Never trust lads that tell you that it's not right to not have sex. When they go against your human nature, you know that they can't be trusted.
This is very true, actually. And the bassist from Creed, here's the factoid for you, got kicked from the band because he started shit talking Pearl Jam because everyone compared him to Pearl Jam all the time. And it was like, we're better than Pearl Jam. An early singer is better than Eddie Vedder.
Ooh, I don't know about either of those things.
And they were like, you've got to go, mate.
Yeah.
There's the guitarist out of Creed is taking the piss because if you like, you can literally learn Creed's back catalogue after playing guitar for about a week. So they'd want to cop onto themselves, really. I know Mike McCready gets a lot of stick and Stone Gossard and all them, but the boys know what they're doing.
To be fair, Stone Gossard's a great songwriter. Like,
yeah.
You know, you can't argue with the songwriting ability of Pearl.
No, you can't.
You know what I mean?
You can't take that away from them. And is Pearl Jam or Creed anything to do with cryptids? Absolutely not. But are we going to talk about it? Yeah, sure, why not? And a quick reminder, folks, we are Monster Fuzz Podcast on all social media, at Monster Fuzz Pod on Twitter. And we are on Patreon now, and we're still working out tiers and all that good stuff. So yeah, head over to Monster Fuzz on Patreon. Look, $3.50, €5. If you want to buy us a coffee, you're literally buying one of us a coffee per month if you spend $3.50. If you do the $5 tier, you're giving us 1.5 coffees, so me and Eamon can split them and pour them together and have like 3/4 of a coffee each.
And we can use the cups to collect change from strangers on O'Connell Street as well.
Yeah, so that's the equivalent of it, guys. That's it. You're either buying me a coffee and half a Danish, or you're buying Eamon a coffee and half a Danish. And that's all good. And we appreciate it. And thank you very much.
And again, yeah, even if you don't have the cash, you're not interested in throwing the cash in, completely understandable. A comment, a like, something, even let us know what you'd like to hear next. You know, we'd be more than happy with that as well. So
yeah, likes are free. Hook a brother up. Shares are free. All that good stuff. Cheers, guys, and it is appreciated as always. Today we are talking about we're going to the PNG. Who's down with PNG? Every last homie.
You know me.
So in the PNG there is a creature named the Ropen, aka Ropen. And he is a pterosaur-like cryptid. So if you guys aren't familiar with a pterosaur, obviously you've probably heard of pterodactyls from Jurassic Park. And if you don't know what a pterodactyl is from Jurassic Park, watch fucking Jurassic Park.
Please watch Jurassic Park, lads, for fuck's sake. How did you even get onto a cryptid podcast? What is going on?
Cop on.
I was just looking for Reddit threads about things that are open because COVID's closed everything.
No. If you don't know Jurassic Park, we don't know you. And you need
take that $3.50 back and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Stop this podcast right now, throw your phone off the wall and put on Jurassic Park, and that's it. And then once you come back, you're on our level. And then what you've done after you've watched Jurassic Park, you can go and listen to our Jurassic Park episode. That right then.
Yeah. And the other part of it is like you have such a fun night ahead of you if you've never seen Jurassic Park before. Like, it's so much of a fun night.
Yeah, it's one of the best, and that's just it, really.
Do you know, Rob? A lot of people say that Citizen Kane is one of the most groundbreaking, best movies ever. But I would like to ask: are there any dinosaurs in the movie Citizen Kane?
Zero.
No dinosaurs,
unless you count the old dusty ass motherfuckers behind the cameras.
Yeah, see you later, bitches. Nah, get on Jurassic Park. That's if you haven't seen Jurassic, honestly, I'd be so surprised if you haven't seen Jurassic Park. If you're actually like, fuck, I can't believe, I feel like these guys are talking specifically to me. We are talking specifically to you, whoever you are. But turn this off, turn on Jurassic Park, and write us an email saying thanks tomorrow.
Citizen Kane, more like Citizen Lame.
Oh yeah, Jurassic Park, more like better than Citizen Kane Park. Yeah.
There you go. That was when you knocked it out of the park there with that one, to be fair.
Out of the Jurassic Park.
Oh, you redeemed yourself. Very good.
Thank you.
Pterosaurs are featherless. Unlike, okay, here's a factoid for you guys. I'm going to drop a bit of knowledge. Pterosaurs are not dinosaurs. So these guys, even though they existed hand in hand, they were side by side, they are not related to dinosaurs. I'll tell you what is related to dinosaurs: the little chicken that you have that lays eggs, or the last old crow, or the raven that robs from the nest. Those guys are all dinosaurs. So they are more related to a T-Rex than a pterosaur, as is they're also more related to a T-Rex than a crocodile or anything else. So just so you know that, now you're on the dinosaur knowledge train. But yeah, they're featherless. They've got a long beak, and they've got a crest on their head most of the time. They've got a huge wingspan and a relatively small body. So think of, like, you know, when you see like a bat, Eamon, it's kind of like it's like that. You know, they've got like big ass wings, small tiny body, and the wings
pigeon
are kind of
chest kind of a thing.
Yeah, pigeon chest, and they've got like a fleshy membrane on the wings.
Oh, I have one of those.
Do you?
Fleshy membrane.
Yeah, it's like your balls.
Yeah. That's right, ladies. I got the fleshiest membrane, but it protects my brain. It's around my brain, so it's so I don't hit my brain against the inside of my head.
I like how you brought yourself closer to the mic when you said that as well. It got really spooky up in there for a second.
I just want to ask all the females out there how their membrane's doing right now.
Yeah, well, I'm sure our female listeners are truly alienated at this
point. It's just my man, your man anyway. So. Katrin, how's your membrane?
I'm sure she'd appreciate that one. So
yeah,
but
I was asking for her anyway.
Okay, I'll tell her. I'll let her know. It's native to New Guinea. It's native to the island of New Guinea, and it lives primarily on fish. Though there's been reports of Ropen eating a man, which we will talk about later. And here's the unusual thing about the Ropen, Eamon, is that it appears to have some type of bioluminescence. Generally, reports of the Ropen go hand in hand with bright lights. So bioluminescence, for those that don't know, is like an element of an animal that basically produces light. So fireflies have a bit of bioluminescence. Electric eels have a bit of bioluminescence, right?
Can I come in here really quickly? Because you know the way, like for anybody who doesn't know yet, and you really should from just listening to how we get animated about what we're talking about, you're like the dinosaur guy. Like you know all about the dinosaurs, the dinosaurs that might still be around. And I'm the guy who's all like fucking ghosts and weird things. So here's the first thing that came to my mind when you're talking about bioluminescence and the Ropen going hand in hand with bright lights. Remember we were talking about liminal spaces?
Oh yeah, liminal. We were talking about last week.
Last week, that's right. We were talking about liminal spaces last week when we were talking about the Dover demon. Don't be screaming, it's just the Dover demon. He never hurts nobody. But in a lot of cases in forests where they talk about the will-o'-the-wisps, which are just the lights in forests.
Yes.
These coincide with a lot of Bigfoot sightings. These coincide with a lot of UFO sightings, bunny man sightings, all these kind of weird things. And there are people who say that in these liminal spaces, those lights are often, you know, they happen at the time when a creature can kind of come through from the other side. So could it be that maybe it's a liminal space or some sort of weird sort of time warp where the Ropen is still hanging out in its dinosaur age, and it's just kind of popping through with these lights or whatever, you know?
I love that. Yeah. And keep talking to me about these, because in that sense, then maybe I can find one and go through it to dinosaur times. Here's one.
Yeah.
Let's
do it. It'd be like Ark.
Yeah, a lot of people say, like, yeah, they'd go to space. Even if it was a one-way ticket, they'd go to space. And it's just like, I don't care. I get to see space. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and I just want to see it, whatever. Would you go, if there was a time machine, back in time and it was one way to the time of the dinosaurs? And
Nah. Like I like the idea, but I think I'd like to come back. Like I think I get bored of it. Like I want to play some Street Fighter or something.
What if they were like, you can bring your like habitat, and you have to conduct research for us, and like you have like a little rover. So think of Matt Damon in that film Mars, where he's on Mars, funnily enough, and he has his little, he's shitting on some fucking cabbages and all that. Would you do it then?
I'd go anywhere if you let me shit on cabbages, but no, dude, I like this. Like, don't get me wrong, I'd love to see dinosaurs. It's the one-way ticket part that gets me.
I do it. I do it. If they were like, you can do a podcast from the other side and send it back, all your findings and reports and all that shit, yeah, sign me up. Bring me. I'd like the chances of me getting eaten in like the first 5 minutes are through the roof. But I think I'd do it,
Maybe I'd wait till I was like an older man, and I just like, I was kind of like, just all fucking weary with life and just like, oh, it's a load of shite. Maybe then I do, and I wouldn't really care about, everyone I know is already dead. And I'm like Clint Eastwood in that fucking movie where he helps the Korean kid, Gran Torino.
Oh, yeah. No, I think it'd be so interesting and so fucking bizarre. And I think seeing something like that with your own eyes would be just something else, because fossils don't do it justice. We've talked in the past about how artists' impressions of dinosaurs are not accurate, because with the method that they use, like if you apply the same method to modern day skeletons, it just looks totally wrong. So
yeah,
like I would imagine they would look so alien that it would be super interesting.
What if you went over there and they all just like, it's as if they've modded like Jurassic Park Genesis or whatever, the video game, and just every dinosaur has Donald Trump skin.
Okay, so they're all like sort of like giant sloth or like elephant skin type of thing.
Yeah, no, but they have his haircut and all as well.
Well, if that is haircut, I'm with that. That's kind of more.
Actually, I might actually go now. I'd be like, yeah, fuck it, one way ticket me.
Yeah. So, and for our listeners as well, would you guys go on a one-way dinosaur trip? And if so, you can come with me. I'm leading the charge. Like, look, I can run 5K. My feet might hurt at the end, but I can run 5K and I can lift like a bag of coal onto my shoulders. So,
so it's great. I mean, like, I don't think you could ask for much more than that in terms of someone to protect you. Run 5K at a steady pace and lift a bag of coal over your shoulders.
Yeah, that's basically that's all you need. So look no further, really.
Linford Christie Brown over there.
Yeah, that'll be it. Linford Christie Dignam. It'd be more like it now, to be honest with you.
Heroin hero.
Yeah. But so the bioluminescence is an interesting thing, especially if it lives on a diet of fish. One of the things that sort of sprang to mind for me was that some fishing lures kind of use a bioluminescent element to attract fish, right?
Yeah, and there's I believe there's phosphorescence is what they might. It's probably the same thing, bioluminescence, but phosphorescence might be what they call it in coral and stuff like that, and sea life when they kind of. So I think actually, I know in the novel of the beach that happens. I can't remember if it happens in the movie, and I believe it might be on Life of Pi as well, when the fucking whale jumps out of the water.
Yeah,
and
you might be
there's
right.
That phosphorescence.
You're right,
probably similar kind of stuff. Yeah,
you're definitely right. And so there's also, we should mention videos of Ropen sightings in the PNG, and they look a lot like what you would say is a UFO sighting, to be honest, which is so like a bright light in the sky. Now, you could imagine if this creature was covered in some type of bioluminescent film or had some type of element in it that produced that. You can imagine that, I suppose, in a hot, sunny day, as often is the case in Papua New Guinea, that it would look like a UFO because it's basically reflecting most of the light that shines on it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, and so it's an interesting little theory. Some of the pictures of the Ropen do actually depict the bioluminescence, and I think it actually looks really cool. One of the pictures we have for our show notes is has a bioluminescent underbelly. And actually, that's something for Patreon that I forgot to discuss. Our show notes will definitely be added to one of the tiers. That's something that you guys will be able to have. I try, and Eamon is the same, because we do different notes for each episode. We try to add like a humorous sort of element to our notes, I suppose, even just for each other, just to make each other sort of laugh or interested. And all our notes are handwritten for the most part. Obviously, we do copy and paste some little bits, but yeah, we tried, like, at least I was very conscious when I started doing notes for episodes that I wanted to make them funny just in case anyone ever did read them. And I suppose now that we're doing the Patreon thing, we have the opportunity to provide some of those to our fans that are listening, and it gives them an opportunity to read through them. Maybe we might even offer them as early access, Eamon, like to get them a few days early. Yeah,
totally. And the other part as well is, like, you'll see from the notes that most of these episodes, you could probably read everything about it in 5 minutes. So the big part of it is just you and me shit talking and kind of, I suppose, just you know, egging each other on with them. What do you think about this? And could that be that? What about this?
Yeah, that's really what makes the topics interesting, and it's what really makes any podcast worth listening to, I suppose, is the human element and the interpretations of what we're reading. But
yeah, but this, not our podcast is quite poor, but other podcasts do that quite well.
Yeah, we talk about Mickey's, but other podcasts.
Actually, yeah, that's your luck. I was worried we weren't going to talk about Mickey's here, but you've said Mickey now, so I think we're okay.
Yeah, no, we've got time here. we've got plenty of time. Listen, we're only into the beginning of the episode, and I still have to talk about sea monsters with long necks. So. Let's get straight into sea monsters with long necks. Do you want to tell us about some of the first sightings of our friend the Ropen?
So a sea chart that was dated 1595 warns mariners to beware of a variety of sea monsters. It depicts 2 flying creatures with long necks. So there's insert penis joke. Head crests. Ribbed wings, so you could probably insert like a condom joke there if you wanted to make it with the long. So this is the stuff that this is the stuff you have to let come to you, ladies and gentlemen. Come. Insert a joke. Yeah, there's no and fantastical tales.
So here's the weird thing, right, about the sea chart. So this sea chart has an artist's rendition, like it was drawn on the chart at the time. Yeah. And the drawing on the chart, I suggest if you want to look it up, just look up Ropen sea chart. It's a very interesting image, and it looks like a pterosaur, or at least a bird with bat-like wings and a fish-like tail, right?
I would say that, yeah, I would say that. And I guess, like, if you were like to look at a kingfisher and sort of make it more dinosaurish, this would kind of be maybe what you'd have.
A little bit like a shite poke, but
a little bit like a shite poke. Yeah.
The artist has definitely made an effort to create a fish-like tail at the end. Absolutely, I think that's fair to say, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Think of a selkie or something like that with like a humanoid seal. This is definitely like a seal-like bird, perhaps. I
think that's fair. And the wings are very kind of bat-like, leatherish.
Yeah,
interesting.
So at the time, definitely this artist was inspired by that. The first reported modern Ropen sightings are a bit more abstract than our usual cryptid encounters. They kind of go in a few different ways. But you want to talk about the well-respected entomologist Lucy Evelyn Chessman?
I do. It's Lucy Evelyn Chessman here. So, she first reported what have since been labelled as the Ropen lights that we kind of discussed earlier. So these lights are important to consider when you talk about the Ropen because of its alleged bioluminescence. I think I called it phosphorescence when I was talking about the sea creatures. But in Chessman's book, she basically asserted that it may be dismissed at once that the flashes were due to any human agency. She gives a number of reasons for dismissing humans as the cause. So she says it would have required about 30 natives to have coordinated flashing their flashlights, and the light appeared to be above, not within the forest. So she's seeing light come from the bird rather than light going towards the bird, if you like.
Yeah.
She says that even if all those natives had climbed trees at night, they would still have been within the tree canopy and not clearly above it.
And it's worth noting here that Chessman is a very reliable account here. She has a lot of credits to her name, and she's a legit source. This is a sort of adventure explorer, like 1930s, I think it was that the first time, something around there. She's like a 1930s Lara Croft type character who basically at the time went exploring all sorts of different places. I think she might have a few different animal discoveries to her name, or insect discoveries, things like that, or plants. She's definitely an interesting character and definitely a reliable account.
Yeah,
So-
and again, how the natives of, if it's, you know, back around that sort of pre 21st century stuff, like how would or 20th century rather, in the mid 1900s is the best way to say what I'm trying to say. Apologies. But even how would the natives have had the kind of, would have been able to, do you know what I mean? It you wouldn't imagine that the lads are, all the pygmies going in with a load of flashlights.
No, you're dead right. But do you want to tell us about how long the flashes actually lasted and stuff like that?
Yeah, so she basically mentioned that the flashlight lasts about 4 or 5 seconds, and that they were showing more or less in a straight line horizontally, and appeared at many points along that line.
Right. So that's interesting. So it appears like there's some type of sort of a formation, you could say.
Almost as if you had like you ever see dudes who have like an LED blazer. Do you know what I mean? So that the lights can only flash on the line in which they're sewn to.
Yeah.
So it almost seems something like that. It's a straight line horizontal. So is it that only parts of the bird have bioluminescence and the rest of it is is for just maybe camouflage and stuff? Because if it is a bird that dives into the ocean to try to catch prey, would there be an advantage to having bioluminescence? Do you know what I mean? Like, does it attract fish?
It would,
the light?
yeah. It would work like a fish lure, I'd imagine, where, you know, once they get down, like the shimmer would attract predator fish, like tuna, or as the Americans would say, tuna, or tuna fish, or it would absolutely attract predator fishes for sure.
Isn't it like, because we have like weird cases of that as well. There's some mushrooms, I can't remember what type of mushroom it is, but it infects the ant.
Yeah.
It gets into its head and it makes it go up as high as it can, and then its head basically explodes with mushroom spores to infect the other ants. So, you know, it's sort of basically, it's the way evolution is designed to keep this species. Well, geez, I just had a weird thought there, man. So, you know, we talk about evolution.
Yes, we do.
And then I just said, is there evolutions? The evolution of the ant. So the evolution of the mushroom is against the evolution of the ant, and it's all just against itself. That was like a weird shower weed thought.
So they're all competing against each other, is what you're saying.
Yeah, which we know it like happens.
An evolutionary race.
An evolutionary race, but it's like micro evolution that's driving the main. It's almost like It's almost like a atomic physics versus Newtonian physics and stuff like that. But it's not. It's just something stupid I said.
And also, is it micro when there's so much spores of fungus and all that stuff all over the world as it is? I mean, if you talk to a mushroom, he might be like, oh, well, there's fucking loads of us around. We're doing grand. You know? Yeah. Leave us alone.
Yeah. And then the other, isn't there like the mushroom networks that they say mushrooms are a cross between an animal and a vegetable.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that it seems like it's somewhere in the middle.
Mushrooms are very interesting, so you should check out Paul Stamets if you're interested in mushrooms. He is the guy that has been on Joe Rogan like 2 or 3 times talking about mushrooms. Very knowledgeable dude on all things shroomy. The only experience I have with fungus is that on my toes. And
lovely.
apart from that, it doesn't really extend very far. But
No, I have my uncle gave me a book called The Psychedelic Power of Plants, and it was very interesting about
right.
how they communicate. And obviously you've heard of the Terence McKenna's Stone Day theory.
Yeah.
There's the theory that when man started to eat meat, it gave us our intelligence, and he sort of says, no, it could have actually been the we ingested psilocybin mushrooms, and that's what gave us our intelligence. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's food for thought. And there are other plants that listen, there's other systems that occur that affect other animals, like toxoplasmosis affects.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah, like that'll make rats go toward cat urine, and in turn makes the cat get the rat. The rat ingests the whatever. That's kind of the circle, isn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, I think. And again, I've heard this ages ago, but I think what it does is the rat thinks that it's like a pheromone from a female rat, so it gets all horny and starts running after to try and have sex with the other rat, and then it just runs into a cat and it tears it apart and eats it.
And then the rat gets infected, and then
it's funny actually when you said food for thought, right?
Yes.
And I just thought we were talking about psilocybin mushrooms, and they're legitimately food for thought.
Oh my
food
god!
That makes your brain go.
Did you smoke a few joints before this episode today, or what?
I think my roommates after putting something in my tea, to be honest with you, because I'm firing on all cylinders right now.
Yeah, it's good, man. So also should be worth noting here that the lights that she describes, it could be interpreted how you were describing, where it's maybe across the body, these lights, right? But also it could be, how I interpreted it was 4 or 5 pterosaurs flying in a sort of sequence in a formation.
Oh, okay, yeah. That makes sense.
So that's kind of what I took from it now. But maybe she's saying what you thought. But five or six pterosaurs maybe flying together in like a squad, if you will.
Yeah, that makes sense as well. Yeah.
So that now, while that like a straight line horizontally would point to something man-made or some type of phenomenon like that, birds have been known to fly in really good synchronization. So I mean, it is possible that pterosaurs had the same type of pattern. But yeah.
You ever see like a billow of like, because obviously you got V formations and blah blah. But if you've ever seen like, it's almost I don't know what you'd say, like an organ of swallows going together, and it's a really mesmerizing thing to look at. When you're seeing them all like a school of fish, like the way that they all swim, or the way they all fly together rather. It's amazing. I remember watching a documentary on that, and it was talking about survival of the fittest. And it was saying that the idea of survival of the fittest is that everything is against everything, and it's all just sharp and claw and red and tooth. Yeah. But he was saying, no, that's not it. He said, survival of the fittest is the organisms that work together are the ones that thrive. He says, when you look at the way that these birds fly together, the way the fish swim together, he said it's like democracy happening. So he said, as soon as 52% of the birds are going a certain way, everyone else follows. And that's how that happens. It's that they're kind of reading each other in this like really quick fashion and following the way that it all moves, But it was a really interesting thing.
Yeah, that's mad shit. Like all of that stuff is like really impressive, and it's mad to know. Here's a little interesting name that I learned today while we're talking about schools of fish. What is a group of hippos called?
A group of hippos. Does it begin with a H?
No.
Okay, I got nothing.
A bloat.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
A bloat of hippos.
That makes sense. I heard that a group of demons is called a delight of demons recently.
Okay, well, that was probably made by some gonk who,
My father told me that. No,
Philip just kicked in the door and was like, a group of demons is a delight. And
son, when you do your podcast, I want you to tell the world that a group of demons is called a delight of demons. And then just slightly off your, Anne, where's the gin?
Yeah. Well, so I mean, look, you're learning with Monster Fuzz really all the time
This is
today.
very informative. This is like a very
Yeah.
informative episode.
Yeah, I believe so. Here's another sighting for you in 1944. Former American fighter pilot. So we usually like these guys, the American military dudes that have seen things. Generally, especially in this era, I like to think are a bit more reliable because they're a bit more no nonsense. Military men below, I'd say pre-Vietnam, including Vietnam, were just like no nonsense dudes, hard, tough dudes. I think probably anyone that was raised by a vet of those eras would attest to it. Like, I don't mean hard in a necessarily like domineering or brutal fashion. I just mean that they were fairly no nonsense dudes, like, and they wouldn't really be ones to tell fanciful tall tales for the most part.
Stoic kind of tough guys.
Yeah. For generally speaking, as well. Obviously, I don't want to tar everyone with the same brush, but Dwayne Hodgkinson was the fighter pilot, and he was in a station in the PNG, Papua New Guinea, during World War II. There was a few American stations around that area. As he and another military man were moving through thick vegetation, they heard a loud, startling sound. They came to a clearing, and the creature made a few steps through the trail and took off. Dwayne was astonished at the time because, according to him, it was a pterodactyl. And he just said straight up, it was a pterodactyl. Pterodactyls would have been, like people knew about pterodactyls back then. It was a fairly, there had been plenty of monstery things around that time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this was 49 years before Jurassic Park came out. So like the pterodactyl hadn't even really hit the sort of like, look how popular they are.
Yeah, true.
You know
actually,
what I mean?
So yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, I wonder how he actually knew himself what a pterodactyl was. I'd be curious to know that. I think it was either this guy or one of the other guys died. Like, I think there's a guy further on died like pretty recently. But anyway, yeah, he watched a large bird. As he watched, a large bird-like creature ponderously rose from the ground, circled, and flew away. Hodgkinson, a pilot, estimated the wingspan to be that of a small airplane, about 25 feet. He clearly recalls the dark grey coloration, long serpentine neck, beak, and distinctive head crest. He goes on to say that it had a long snout on it, a long appendage coming out the back of its head, and great big wings. I think whatever way you want to look at this account, he definitely is saying that it's a pterosaur and there is no room for interpretation there, right?
Yeah, it's certainly. I mean, if I saw something like that, I would be, the best way I could describe it would be to say pterodactyl.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's he's not mucking about with it or anything. So do you want to talk about the next sighting, which was in 1986, a lot further on, a lot more modern, I suppose you could say. Were you born in? No, you would have been born before 86.
I was 2. Well, I was born in October 84, so depending on when in 1986 this happened, I was either 1 or 2.
Right. Okay. Cool.
If we're getting close to Santi time, I was 2. So. In 86, the location of a former military base in the PNG, you know me, was also the sighting of a killing by the Ropen. So this is what we alluded to earlier, saying a man had potentially been killed. So a man was gardening, and the creature, apparently an extremely large one, came down and picked him up, flew to about 40 feet off the ground, dropped him, and by the time he was either dead or incapacitated by that time anyway. So apparently the creature picks him back up, takes him up into a large tree, and then eats him in front of the village.
So he doesn't mess about. Interestingly, do you remember that scene? Didn't that happen in
Jurassic World?
Yeah, it did, didn't
it? Yeah. They do a thing in that where the pterodactyls pick someone up and start dropping them, and then the other pterodactyls will catch them before they hit the ground as well. That's when the park, it's safe to say the park won't be open for a while at that point in the movie.
Yeah, is it possible that that's like a feeding tactic for the Ropen to kill someone easily? It's like just pick them up and drop them?
Yeah, well, I imagine like if you're, because, I don't know how strong, like in terms of the Ropen, I don't know how strong they would be or whatever, but it's obviously going to be easier to just hold dead weight rather than something that's thrashing and moving. So it would make sense to pick something up, let it go, it'll fall to the ground, die, and then you can pick it up and head off again.
And I think if you're wanting to go on, like, say, what could be closely described as modern day pterodactyls, like, you kind of albatrosses and pelicans and things like that are kind of closely related. Well, not closely related, but they kind of have similar traits, but they don't really have toothy mouths, and if they do have teeth, they're not like super, it's not like a T-Rex. So they would have a hard time probably chewing someone up. So dropping them makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Rather than trying to like puncture them. And this is where we take a turn for the bizarre. If you remember our Jabberwocky episode with Gordo, I actually refer to this. This is about Genesis Park, and the purpose of Genesis Park is to showcase the evidence that dinosaurs and man were created together and have coexisted throughout history. So
the Christians.
Yeah, so this is basically to prove that, of course, if dinosaurs existed, as they have proven to have done, like as we know right now, that kind of disproves Noah's Ark. It disproves the creation, like God created everything at the same time type of idea, where he like clicked his fingers and everything showed up and was like, all right, what's the crack? So
is it New Earth fundamentalists? Is that what they call them?
I think it is
something like that. Yeah.
I think I have a little bit on them. I think further down.
Oh, okay.
I think so. Anyway, but I think you're right. I think that is the term, New Earth fundamentalists.
Or New Earth creationists.
New Earth creationists.
Yeah.
So because any dinosaur bones have to either be rubbished. Oh, that's nonsense. We don't. Or they have to basically try and find evidence that dinosaurs are around now.
A big thing that they do is they query the fact carbon dating is only accurate to like 6,000 years or something, or I can't remember but they're basically saying, yeah, sure, you can't be sure because I'm telling you that it's only 7,000 years old, and you're saying you can only be accurate to 6,000 years. So how do you know it's 65 million years old? So it's a big argument that they use.
Yeah, which of course is silly because, with fossils you can sort of see, for those that don't really know, like the levels of dirt in like tightly compressed ground is like a really good indicator of age.
Yeah.
And
that's layering as well, isn't it? That's another Yeah,
that's the term. So do you want to tell people about Genesis Park and what they had to do with all this dinosaur shenanigans?
Yeah, so in October 2004, Genesis Park staff conducted a 3-week trip to the remote Siassi Island off the western coast of Papua New Guinea, which is just a little bit south of the Manus Island group. So the goal was to hike into the mountain interior of Siassi, follow up on intriguing reports received from coastal communities on the south of the island. So they conducted dozens of interviews, and they said that the credibility of the witnesses was carefully tested by the use of black and white profiles. After carefully collating the dozens of interviews and a composite drawing of most likely characteristics possessed by the Ropen were assembled. And you have the little picture of him there, cute little Ropen in that picture.
He looks, again, very pterodactyl-like, right?
Yeah.
It's almost identical to a pterodactyl.
And as well, if someone was to, when we looked at the chart, the maritime chart from the 16th century, that's granted, it's probably a bit more, Jurassic looking, but it's pretty close when you think about the time that would have been drawn,
Yeah, the time between them is good. And also an interesting little thing here is a shout back to our Michele Membe episode, which is probably our most referenced episode, interestingly, for some reason. I don't know, maybe it just had all of the right elements in it to where we go back.
I think as well, when we talk about monsters and stuff like that, the Congo is like the sweet spot for, dinosaurs that still exist.
And I think in that episode, we referred to the fact that locals didn't really give accurate accounts because, well, not that they didn't give accurate accounts, they just didn't give accounts that really matched up to the Michele Membe. Whereas these locals seem to be pretty spot on with a pterodactyl, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that, yeah.
So that's it's interesting. Do you wanna tell them like what it resembles?
Yeah, so if you could see this image, it does look quite similar to a pterodactyl.
Hmm.
Although for me, the face, the face is it's kind of different to what I would think of a pterodactyl face looks like.
Yeah.
So this one sort of more resembles a Dimorphodon pterosaur.
Yeah, so he's
Uh,
like a cousin of a pterrodactyl, basically.
yeah,
Related but different.
yeah, he's got like a much the sort of snout, the beak
Hmm.
seems to be a lot bigger, whereas the pterodactyls is skinnier and
Hmm.
longer, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So ladies, about the length or the girth. So basically, it has the addition of the head crest and dermal bumps. And it said that the animal has a 15 to 20 foot wingspan as well.
Which is very big, right?
Oh yeah, very, very big. So what's that? 6 and that's about just over 3 meters if it's 20 feet, I suppose.
Yeah,
In
it's
or
ma-
around. Yeah.
it's a fairly impressive wingspan. Like
Mhm.
you're talking a spooky looking animal, very prehistoric, obviously, and it's impressive that so much identification went into it and it all sort of made sense. But I've got a little bit more from our Genesis Park friends. Um, Two species appear to persist in the PNG. A smaller pterosaur is believed to inhabit the caves that dot the islands of Rambunzo and in the Bismarck Archipelago, is where that is. Reports seem to fit the presumed extinct Ramphorhynchus, a pterosaur with a wingspan of 3 to 4 feet, so like quite a small pterosaur. Like the Congo matto in Zambia, the Ropen is said, we'll probably touch on the Congo matto in future, by the way, as another cryptid.
Mm.
The Ropen is said to have a taste for decaying human flesh and has
Lovely.
even harassed native funeral gatherings with Western missionaries present.
Wow.
Carol E. Bach of the Creationary Evidence Museum conducted an expedition to Manus with missionary Jim Bloom. He observed one of the creatures through a monocular night scope and snapped a picture of strange print in the sand the next morning. So, the boys were absolutely actively on the hunt for the Ropen, which
Mm.
actually, interestingly, the religious dudes seem to have more interest in the Ropen than anyone else.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they have a vested interest, right? Probably similar to what we saw in Mekele and Bembe. Where if they can find one of these things, like that really adds a lot of weight to their argument that the Earth is only 6,000-7,000 years old.
It's the golden goose,
Yeah, yeah, the
right?
smoking gun.
Yeah, so do you want to talk about 1987?
Yeah, 1987, a good year. I would have just turned 3.
And I was maybe getting conceived, so it's all
You were,
right.
yeah, you were. That's
I'm
all
on my
right.
way.
Conception.
Yeah.
My little sister would have been born this
Oh,
year.
right,
My parents were probably, my dad probably angry now. He had 2 extra mouths to feed.
It was all
Anyway,
go.
so, but aside from Rob being conceived, my sister being born, and me transgressing the age of the terrible 2s, Tyson Hughes, who was an English missionary, began an 18-month contract to assist the Moluccan tribespeople of Seram Island, Indonesia, to develop efficient farming techniques. So Tyson hears stories about a terrifying creature called the orang bati, which translates to the men with wings.
Are you a batty man?
Stop it now. I think that right now I'm not, but maybe so. Who knows? Who's to say? Who's to say what will happen in the future? Maybe I'll be a
Right.
batty man in the future. I don't know.
Interesting.
It is, and again, ladies and gentlemen, we have no in our hearts for batty men or boom batty men or anybody like that. We think that all humans are created equal and deserve to be treated as such. Anyway, the batty men, the orang bati, the men with wings, and they possessed enormous leathery wings like a bat, and live in the caves of Mount Kairatu, an extinct volcano situated in the center of the island. Likely, this creature is similar to the Ropen from the adjoining Papua New Guinea. Stories from the people of Sunda, Indonesia, tell of the Zurich, a flying dragon whose illuminated profile could be seen in the night sky. That's really interesting. The last part about the Zurich.
Yeah, Indonesia, if I'm not mistaken, is the spot where our good friend the Komodo dragon hangs out.
Mm,
Um, so they know what a dragon is and isn't. So I always think if a country that has an actual dragon, uh, with that, well, what we would call a dragon in it, and it's able to differentiate between that and some type of flying animal, I think it's fair to rule out the Komodo dragon as being a possible dude. If he is from the area that I'm thinking, by the way, I'm not exactly sure if he's from Indonesia. I think he is though. So, um, yeah. So I mean, they're able to tell the difference between that, which is really interesting.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I feel like it's funny, yeah, but it's the illuminated skin that really gets me, the illuminated profile, because obviously, what's scary, like a Komodo dragon's fairly fucking scary. If you just made the Komodo dragon have wings, you sort of wouldn't need to make it shiny to make it more scary. Do you know what I mean? Like
No,
that'd be enough. Imagine a Komodo dragon poison biting you from the sky. That's the stuff of nightmares.
it is the stuff of nightmares. It would also need like the wings that a Komodo dragon would need to keep it up in the air would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
absolutely huge. But it's interesting that yeah, we're in the land of Komodo dragons. So I suppose if you if you're walking around that place, dinosaurs wouldn't be too fucking far fetched. I mean, if you removed internet, you took away internet from me, you took away all my prior knowledge, and just put me on an island in, let's say, 1850. You just drop me on the PNG, and I get up on the shore. I wake up like it's fucking Daisy or Ark. I wake up on the beach in my underpants, like, and I have to go and fucking scavenge. Um, if I see a Komodo dragon in my head, anything goes on this fucking island, right? I don't know what the fuck is going to be in that jungle.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, shit's getting really spooky. Um, so yeah, it's an interesting one that but the Genesis Park staff were back up to their crack, and they followed up on reports from the jungles of Cambodia of a similar creature there. So Cambodia obviously is quite a far ways away. We're traveling here. After hiking several days in the bush along the border with Vietnam, a number of eyewitness accounts were obtained. A nocturnal, flying, snake-like creature is known there by the name of Sat El Law. Though the sightings are very rare. Sat El Law, probably another cryptid we cover in the future, I would
Yeah, yeah,
guess, Eamon.
I think so.
Yeah, so let's talk about Genesis Park's actual mission statement here, and maybe you can clear up for people
Yeah,
what their game is all about.
yeah, okay. So I'm going to say it in like a sort of obnoxious voice.
Right, do that.
The purpose of Genesis Park is to showcase the evidence that dinosaurs and man were created together and have coexisted throughout history. This site stands in opposition to those Darwinists who claim dinosaurs are the poster children of evolution. Carol, Sean, endless forms, most beautiful. From 2005, page 295. I wouldn't read it if I was you, because there is only one salvation, and that is. Anyway, Genesis Park questions the evolutionary propaganda heaped upon the dinosaurs and approaches the subject of origins with a literal adherence to the scriptures and an emphasis on creation, demonstrating God's power. Have you not known? Have you not heard that the everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the earth, faints not, neither is weary? There is no searching of his understanding. Isaiah 40:28.
You took me away there, Eamon.
Take my breath away.
Yeah, you took me away to a different place there. I felt like
Different place.
I felt like I was in a podcast with a different person altogether, to be honest. There for
I was just, the way I channel sometimes. I just channel.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
channels there.
it really worked. And I will also say that the only way that you're going to get me to be a really religious person is to acknowledge that dinosaurs were around. So
And I know from like knowing you for years and years that you pray every night, but only for there to be living dinosaurs. And I know that about you.
every night
Every night.
yeah, and I'm not trying to be naughty here. Every night I get down
Oh,
on my knees at the end of my bed
oh God.
and I pray. I join my hands and I pray. I am a man of faith. My God is the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Hmm.
And I join
Who
my
himself
arms.
could never play or pray because his arms were too small to clasp together.
Exactly. He could never join his hands. So I pray
Oh.
for him. I pray
Mm.
double. I pray once for myself and once for the T-Rex that has no arms to pray. And my prayers so far have been unanswered. So I am hoping that any day now,
Mm.
Jesus is a T-Rex in a robe and he has long hair and a halo and he pops down through the clouds and tells me, "It's okay, Rob. We existed alongside you and you can believe in God and you can also believe in me, Dinosaur Jesus."
Mm. Do you ever
And
see those pictures where it's like him cradling a velociraptor or
yeah,
riding into Nazareth on the back of a raptor?
I
They're pretty
have.
awesome.
Yeah, those are the ones that I can get behind. Yeah, all the if you want, look, if you want to make any religion more interesting to me, just add a dinosaur. If you want to make
Yeah.
anything more interesting to me, like in school I was terrible at maths, but if you had done like Tommy the Velociraptor has 5 apples,
Mm.
and Jimmy the Compy has 10 apples, but Sue the
Compy would
Triceratops,
never eat 10 apples. That'd be mad, wouldn't it?
yeah, and then Sue the Triceratops has a Twix. How many apples does the Compy have? Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
I probably would have been more into it. Do you get me?
That's it, yeah. Numbers are boring, but dinosaurs never boring.
Yeah, they just can't be boring, especially
Mm.
when we find out that the Ropen is a grave robber,
Oh my
shock
God.
horror.
Shit.
So Michael, who was a local villager, I'm gonna hazard a guess that Michael wasn't his actual name, but he was happy to tell an American explorer about the Ropen. In Gumlongon village, Umboy Island, many years ago, the brightly glowing Ropen came down to the grave of a recently buried man. The creature then uncovered the body and carried it up to nearby Mount Bell. Near the end of the interview, Michael said in the Tok Pisin language, Tok Pisin, I don't know, Tok
Yeah.
Pisin language, "Me Lokim True," which translates to, "I saw that myself." Um, Now, what do you think about Michael here? Did he possibly find some valuables on the body and threw it into the ocean or something?
Um, I don't know. Me looking true. That sounds like he's a guy who's trying to talk English.
Yeah, it
Uh,
does a bit, don't it?
is that like oh, because I know friends of ours who were in Sierra Leone said they have like it's not Afrikaans. Maybe it is, I can remember, but it's like a sort of a semi-English language.
Gingangooli gooly.
I don't believe that was the name of it. But yeah, I wonder, is that the kind of the dialect, you know?
Yeah, bit of
But yeah,
Gingangooli gooly. Do you know, I actually wanted to put Gingangooli gooly into one of our poems. Actually, one of the people that sent me a poem wanted to use Gingangooli gooly. And I actually had to search and find out if that's some type of racist term that I didn't know about.
that's what I mean. Like you would have
That's
said, you would have just been rhyming. It's a poem.
that's the world we
Sorry,
live
a
in.
poem.
But yeah, but Gingangooli gooly is actually nonsense gibberish. So
It
it
does
doesn't.
sound like nonsense gibberish, to be fair.
But as we know, most racism is nonsense gibberish.
Oh shit!
So that's why you have to look it up. You have to know. But
You have to be careful. Yeah.
yeah, but Michael is not the only native eyewitness to report a rope and grave robbery. So, do you want to tell us about the missionary that interviewed the dude?
So years before Michael's interview, this other missionary fellow interviewed a different man. He told a similar story about a glowing creature that had uncovered a human body that had been wrapped in leaves. But that interview basically revealed details about the creature's appearance being long but skinny.
That's kind of long but
That's
skinny.
pterodactylish. Oh wait, or do we Mickey joke? Is
Well,
it
I
Mickey
don't
joke
know.
time?
Yeah, I was going to, but I thought then long, yeah, but skinny, no. So I didn't. I related to 50% of the sentence.
Oh, you were. Oh, sorry. I thought.
No.
I didn't realize you were talking about your own.
Yeah.
Your own. Yeah. No. So yours is long, short, but skinny. What's
It's like a lot of 50-cent coins sellotaped together.
Have you gotten? Because I know we were talking about this before. Have you gotten like Michele Mbebe tattooed on the undercarriage of your penis yet, so that when you get an erection, like it just looks like gilly gally gooly or nonsense gibberish or whatever. But then when you get when you get an erection, like it spells out Michele Mbebe.
I should do, and I should also put gilly gally gooly
Gilly
and ging gang gooly gooly, which is what it actually is. I should put both of them. I will do that. My Mickey will look like an Ohm stone by the time I'm done this podcast. And for those of you that don't know what an Ohm stone is, it's an Irish prehistory sort of stone that had an inscribed language. So that's a very you have to be Irish to get that reference, I think. Would that be fair to say, Eamon?
And if you're not Irish, you're not allowed to say "om" because that's cultural appropriation.
Yes. And you're not allowed.
See how ridiculous it is? See how ridiculous it is?
You know, say, sure be Jesus.
Sure be Jesus. You're saying the Irish are drunk. That's a bad stereotype. We're not drunk the whole time. Give us the pat. Are we allowed to do it to our own?
Yeah, we are. We can fucking have at it.
All right, cool.
Yeah, now we can. In the Leprechaun episode, there will be a Leprechaun episode. We will do it. That is so going to be a Paddy's Day special actually next year.
Absolutely.
Oh, Jesus.
March 17th. Get ready, bitches.
Yeah, Leprechauns are coming.
I reckon we should get hammered for that one as well. We should do drunk Leprechaun episode. We'll both get hammered and we'll just see. We might even bring your cousin on as well. We'll see how we get on. More spirits than Loftus Hall.
Your finest moment. That was a great joke.
Yeah, two actually people who had listened to it were telling me poor old Dempsey fucked up in work because he was listening to it.
Yeah, no, it was a good one. It was fantastic, and without context, my cousin drinks a reasonable amount, and he was also quite drunk on the roof of Loftus Hall. So spirits, Loftus Hall.
To be fair, I'm not too far behind him anymore, so we're all going down together in a big blaze of glory.
Right, speak for yourself. I'm running 5Ks at a moderate pace.
Bitch, I run 5K, no problem. Have you bet my time yet on the 5K?
I've already told you. I know what happened with your time on 5K. I can tell you now.
I broke the sonic barrier.
No. What happened is you run around ditches in your Ewok village that has no 4G. So when you lose 4G signal, it approximates your times. So it gave you your fake Chihuahua.
No, because you see, I just ran around one square, a field, a GAA. So it's probably taken on the spirit of many great GAA players that have come and gone.
Cool Cullen.
Cool Cullen was probably there. Do you know he had like 8 toes or something? And that probably helped with because I had the power of 8 toes rather than just like 8 on a foot, like not missing toes. But yeah, 23 minutes on that's. Ooh.
I don't believe it. I'd have to.
I saw you the evidence.
I'm sorry. I
drank half a bottle of gin the night before as well.
Chihuahua phones are not reliable. I don't trust them. So
they're not well. No, that data is probably. You can probably just go on to anywhere online and find that data right now if you want. So
the other thing is, your phone is a Nokia 3210.
3310
with some type of eBay antenna that you sellotaped on the back of it to give you GPS.
No, I masking taped it onto the back of it, so it's stronger than sellotape.
Right. Okay. But so that's what. Yeah, we're not on the same technology even to get a reliable.
We're not on the same technology because my legs are technologically superior to your legs.
Oh, we'll see about that. I don't know. I gotta take next time you're down. We're doing a time trial, and we'll live stream a Patreon time trial.
You'll have so much of Eamon O'Neill's dust in your face you won't know what to do.
So anyway, enough of that nonsense. On the mainland of the PNG, southwest of the much smaller island of Umboy, Some of the largest flying creatures have attacked humans. Reports indicate that 2 native men in 2 areas of Morobe province between about 1985 and 1995 were killed. That's quite a large window of time there. Between about 1985 and
it was about a
95.
decade, I
Yeah.
think.
It was sometime in the last 10 years that the 2 lads went missing. That was according to missionary Jim Bloom. The victims were not kicked by the notorious cassowary bird, which is flightless. We've talked about the cassowary on here as well.
Yep.
They were carried up into the air by what some American investigators believe were giant pterosaurs. So
Yeah.
the American
Sounds like
investigators...
Jim Bloom was drinking a bit of Jim Beam.
Ah, yes, indeed. And also, it sounds like the American investigators were the new art creationists.
Yeah.
So, but it wasn't the cassowary, because even if it was, they would sort of disembowel you. And it's quite easy to tell that they've disemboweled you because they've got like the raptor claw type of job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they're gonna disembowel the shit out of you. So what do you think of the sightings then, Eamon? What do you make of these? We've got a few different accounts here. We've got a really credible account of just lights. There was no Ropen seen at the time. Then we have a medium account of like a military man who said he saw a pterosaur. That's exactly what he said. And then we have some of the more religious dudes that are just sort of rambling around the place trying to find dinosaurs. So what do you make of it all? What do you put together from it?
Yeah, so I thought Lucy Chessman's report about the lights seemed legit. It's not a fucking, like, what's more likely with those lights? Is it that it was the Ropen or a UFO? Like, whatever you think yourself, you know? Either way, very strange. The 1944 Dwayne Lodgkinson sighting seemed like, you know, that sort of seemed
interesting.
Relatively, yeah, I could have gone with that. When the lads start talking about fellas fucking grave digging and eating decaying humans and all, I'm not too sure about that one now. It starts getting a bit, but he did say me look him true though, so it's hard to argue with that.
It gets a bit squirrely at that point, yeah, because
it gets pretty squirrely, yeah.
When you're talking about dead bodies and natives in very poor countries, perhaps burial traditions dictate that valuables are put on the body, things like that. So sometimes when bodies go missing like that, it could mean anything really.
The other part as well is like carrion and, like sky burials. Condors coming down. I mean, condor has a fairly immense wingspan as well. Is it possible that maybe it was some sort of that maybe it was shallow grave or something like that? It could pick up, and it just looked massive, whatever angle he had seen it at. I mean, potentially.
Yeah,
but a condor wouldn't shine like that either, like, to be fair.
No. It's probably fair to say that the natives would know the difference, but I would not rule it out. But that leads us nicely on to some of the possible explanations that we have. And some of you guys might have recently seen a viral image of a bat in, I believe it was actually in Indonesia that this bat was seen. And it is fucking massive. If you've not seen a picture of this bat, it's literally just asleep in an awning of like some outdoor little shack, and it's just chilling, right? Yeah.
So you can see there's a motorbike just packed behind it to kind of give you an idea about scale, and you can see also that there's a bowl in front of it. So based on those two things, you can sort of get an idea of how big it is, and the thing is huge. Like,
yeah, you're talking, I suppose, really long, weighs about 2.5, 3 feet, maybe more. 2.5,
I'd say, feet. Yeah, I would say I'd go for that.
Yeah, and it's funny actually, I mean, in the notes, the first picture I have there, where it's sort of got his tongue open, and it's the same fox bat, and that's it when it woke up, which is entirely terrifying.
I don't much like that.
Imagine that yolk flying around your bedroom. Like, imagine that thing.
He's kind of cute though as well, but he's massive. Like, massive.
Like, you see, I kind of have a thing with certain types of animals that I think they're cute until they get to a certain size. I'm like,
Mm.
oh, little tiny, tiny, tiny spider is really cute, and I don't mind him running on my hand. He's kind of cute. And then, oh, a big, massive fucking huntsman spider or trapdoor spider
Yeah.
that we talked about in Java Fluffy, I do not want anything to do with it. Oh, this bearded dragon is really cute. Fuck no, I don't want a Komodo dragon.
Yeah, yeah.
So the bat is one of those things where some bats are really cute and small, and they have kind of like a little cute face, and they're kind of furry and shit. But then this motherfucker looks like a camel with wings or something.
Yeah,
know?
it's massive. It is massive.
So if you guys don't know what we're talking about here, this is a fox bat. So please do search up a fox bat. They're a very interesting animal. And bats are just so unusual in general. Another little factoid for you: if a bat as much as flies into your house, you're supposed to get a rabies injection regardless. So
Really? Yeah.
yeah, because
Oh.
bats, small bats, you can't actually feel their bite, they reckon.
Right.
So as a precautionary measure, if you're ever in contact with a bat, like, do you remember that viral video of the bats that was flying around the Irish house? And they're all like, oh, get out, you mad bastard.
Oh, yeah. Catch him,
And-
Daddy. Catch
Yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah. And it was like that meme, and it became really popular. And then that guy went on to release a load of fucking annoying fucking shit content.
Yeah, yeah. I remember recently some fucker ate a bat, and I've been inside for about 4 months now.
I posted a picture of that in my BJJ group chat. I was like, can't wait to sit down for dinner, lads, and put a picture of like bat soup. And it wasn't met very well at the time. But
Really?
no, fancy that.
Fucking
Yeah, no humor. It's too busy killing each other.
BJWs.
But yeah, no, I think the bats are an interesting one and a possible explanation. However, I believe the flying fox bat is a herbivore. I don't think it eats meat.
Yeah.
And it is definitely not big enough to eat, bring a body anywhere. It's big enough to be truly terrifying, and it is also big enough to be confused for a Mothman or possibly a pterosaur. I do believe
Yeah,
that.
yeah. That's
Like,
true.
Gordo was mentioning in our Java Fluffy episode, it was an owl. We thought about Mothman.
Yeah.
A bat, I think, is more plausible in both cases, even though fox bats, I don't think are in America at all. So
Well, man, I'm just looking out my window now, and out onto the balcony, and like if a 3-foot bat was standing there, that's actually huge. Like, like just from where I'm sitting, and now I'm getting a bit fearful now. I don't much care for this anymore.
yeah, and this is how this podcast was founded. Was me and Eamon used to walk home telling each other spooky tales of cryptids and things like that, and giving each other the fear, which is why and how this podcast came to be. But
Yeah, JK Cinema.
basically, yeah, shouts out to JK Cinema.
Yeah, old school.
Yeah, so the flying fox can have a wingspan of up to 5 feet. So that's, very, very big wingspan. It's smaller than the Ropen, but it's hard to believe that an American or European explorer wouldn't get the willy seeing this cunt for the first time. Would I be right in saying that?
Yes, you definitely would.
Yeah, so next up on our possible list is our bud, the cassowary. What do you think about the cassowary?
The cassowary, I could totally see. It's just the flight part of it would be tricky, but in terms of the way it looks, the kind of mohawk has that sort of, it seems similar to, and it's actually the color as well, I suppose. But yeah, it's more emu-ish, isn't it, in its body, like the hairy kind of body. Yeah.
So I think really it's kind of hard to know what would you explain with the lights? Do you think there's any sort of possible answer for
I think
them?
it's an interesting thing that people would say that this cryptid had lights on it. That's an interesting thing to say, because it doesn't exactly strike fear. Do you know what I mean? Like when you have something with glowing eyes, eye shine, all that sort of stuff, you can kind of understand the folklore of a dragon if we're talking about Komodo dragons, because the bite is poison and it's depicted as fire, because you can't really depict a poison bite in a drawing. You know what I mean? So I don't fully understand the bioluminescence. I don't fully get why they would make that up. Do you know what I mean? Like it's especially if you did have, like, they have those fox bats, which are huge. So you would more be like, and it's more scary and creepy, and it would have more folkloric resonance to say that it didn't have any shine, because that it would be like, look out for the thing that you can't see. Do you know what I mean? And that would there would be sense to the folklore behind that. Like, a lot of folklore is just about, you know, don't fucking talk to strangers, don't go into the sea. Don't, like, it's just telling, it's kind of life advice, just in with a twist, and with a narrative to it. Whereas, you know, this thing, I just don't get the lights. Or I mean, the only other thing is, maybe could these be UFO sightings that they're trying to understand from a more wildlife point of view?
Yeah, so like the lights, yeah, like you said, very interesting. Hard to find any reason as to why they would be there, but there are definitely reports of them. There's actually reports of pterodactyls, by the way, in America. There's a few different ones that we will get in. We will cover in mainland USA, pterosaur sightings as well, and some of them are like semi-decent. You know, I read over them in preparation for this episode, and they'll probably be part of a pterosaur series, I guess, or maybe one more episode. And yeah, I don't know, man. The lights, it's if not folklore, I don't know what the fuck. It either has to be folklore, or it's just like, I don't know what the fuck. This is like maybe something. This is something weird. I'm not so sure about UFOs. There is natural light phenomena, as you know. There's the Northern Lights. There are other things that I have in a link here. So if you guys want to check it out, there's some phenomena that do cause flashing lights, and it's like a phenomenon that I'm not really going to get too much into detail with, because it's a whole nother thing. But lights flashing can happen naturally, and sometimes it does happen in the way that our sort of, what's the girl's name again? I can't remember, but whatever she said, Lucy, yeah, whatever Lucy said, it can kind of happen, but it doesn't explain the drawings that we have. It doesn't explain some of the accounts that we have. So I think, like, to wrap it up, I'm sort of inconclusive on the whole thing. I don't really know what way to lean on this episode, really, to be quite honest with you. How's it about yourself?
I mean, it seems possible. You know what I mean? It does. It seems like a bird that maybe is bigger than a vulture. It has a more colorful, you know, feather arrangement to it, or feather pattern. And I wouldn't say it's exactly like a Ropen, but maybe it's something that has a very small population, and that is kind of, you know, survives on carrion and stuff like that. Maybe that could make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it is possible that there was a population of some type of bird that we do not know about, that hangs around in Papua New Guinea, or did hang around, that has since become extinct. Even,
you know, in a previous episode when you did the monsters that walked amongst us, we said that there was only 600 humans at one point. I mean, how hard would it have been to find those humans, like, back if you were actually out looking for them and you had the whole world to look over?
Yeah,
I mean, it's only 600. Like, so it's possible, and especially something like this. Like, how often do you see these animals? Like, I was in the Phoenix Park today. I was just cycling through with your cousins, actually, and we sat there, we were just chatting, and like, I saw a grey squirrel jump from one branch of a tree to another branch of a tree. Now, I'd imagine there's more than 600 grey squirrels in that park. Right, for sure. And it's a small location, but I guarantee you that's the first squirrel I've seen there in a long time, and I've gone up there, you know,
regular.
Yeah, pretty regular. Like, so, you know, could it be that there's just very few of these, or maybe there were some of these in the 1950s, but they went extinct without us ever finding out what they were? So there's so, you know, there's two ways we can lean. We can lean
exotic type of bird that we have yet to discover. Maybe it is extinct, or we can go with a slightly more fantastical interpretation of it is a small group of pterosaurs that endured the extinction events, the ice ages, and all of that stuff over the millions and millions of years after that they would have went extinct. But what you could say is, you know, birds are hardy. Maybe some of the pterosaurs were hardy and lived on. So that's the flip side of it. I think that's probably the best way to sort of lean with this episode. I don't think there's any other really concrete explanation, but suffice to say, I did enjoy the Ropen. I thought it was an interesting cryptid. How's about yourself?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, like again, because I suppose I tend to go for the more alien spirity type stuff, and you go for the more dinosaur stuff. So I always really enjoy these episodes when we you know, because I feel like I learn a little bit that I wouldn't really know much about.
Likewise, I'm the same with the other stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I always enjoy it. Like, and I suppose you know, hopefully the listeners enjoyed it as well. But I definitely enjoyed kind of going through it and learning stuff about this one.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the episode, folks. We have been Monster Fuzz Podcast, and we are signing off.
And we'll see you all anon.
Yes.
I haven't really woken up until I've had my McDonald's breakfast deal. And I know this is true because before breakfast, I put my phone in the refrigerator and couldn't find the keys that were already in my hand.
Nothing gets the morning going like the first sip of an iced coffee. Get any size and any flavor for 99 cents until 11 a.m. Price and participation may vary.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. McDonald's. I'm loving it.
If you love to be remembered as the person who gives the best birthday gifts, I'm here to tell you that 1-800-Flowers.com is your ultimate birthday gifting destination. 1-800-Flowers has thoughtful and artfully created options that are guaranteed to deliver the best birthday surprise. Shop thousands of unique gifts at 1-800-Flowers.com for exclusive offers and great values. To order today, visit 1-800-Flowers.com/tune in. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/tune in.